Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Wednesday, March 31st, 2021, and this is What's Happening Dracut. Welcome to the show, folks, and thank you for joining us. And we're going to try to bring you as much information about the town as we can, as always, on Wednesdays at 6:30, starting today. We've got a brand new time, and we're going to keep going, trying to give you as much information as we can in an hour and a half. And we have a lot of things to discuss. We're joining you from our awesome studios here on Mill Street in Dracut at DATV, better known as Dracut Access Television. And I'm your host, John Zimini, and I hope to bring you a good perspective and keep the conversation moving and interesting. Tonight, we have our normal guests, or our normal hosts. Myself, seated next to me to my right is Phil Thibault. Hi, Phil. How's it going?
Very well. How are you?
So there's not too much going on here.
Oh no, you know it's just a dull, boring day.
Yeah. and our other co-host is Gordy Scott, who brings a plethora of information. He's our computer guy, and as you notice, we've changed the opening a little bit because I think people have got to know who we are and what the show's all about now, right?
Yep, and I just wanted to, this is our 11th episode. I didn't know if you knew that.
11?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was in the store a couple weeks ago and someone came up to me, "Aren't you the guy on TV with John Zimini?" I said, "Yeah, that's me."
See? With John
Zimini. I said, "Do you want my autograph?" He said, "No, I don't."
No, I want John Zimini.
So it must have been a John Zimini groupie.
It's funny that you should say that because, I've been walking. I've been going out walking at different parks, and sometimes I go live on Facebook and whatever, but I've been doing some walking, and every day it seems as though I'm getting somebody stopping me now, especially since I announced that I'm running for that obscure position of water moderator, of the water district moderator. I'm getting a lot of people telling me,
the heavily contested water
You're back in the fight? You're back in this? I said, it's nothing. It's really, it's one meeting, once a year, for 1 hour, in front of 20 or 30 people. I mean, I think I can handle that. But we'll get more into that as we go along. But we have a great show tonight. We're going to try to get people to weave through what is the political maze here in Dracut. And we're trying to keep the taxpayers, rent payers, and businessmen involved and knowledgeable of what's going on in our town and the world. Right, Gordy? We're going to talk a lot tonight about world events, too. Yes. Now that we got an hour and a half, we've expanded our time from 6:30 to 8. We're no longer 7 to 8. We're going 6:30 to 8. And you can watch us on Facebook Live. I believe we're on.
Yes.
We're on.
Yep.
And we're going to be on YouTube Live, except there was a problem with Cascus.
Right, our streaming software today is...
Hopefully we'll be able to correct that during the show. If not, you'll be able to catch the show on replay on YouTube. So tell us about our YouTube streaming, because you're the expert.
Yeah, so we set up a YouTube stream just because a lot of people that, especially in my neighborhood that I talked to, they said those of you that don't, or have, some people are having issues with Channel 8, by the way, at home. I'm actually having a little bit of an issue. Every once in a while it breaks up a little bit. So for those people, we want to give you different ways to watch the show. So one of those is obviously Facebook, as we've always been live on Facebook, and we're also expanding out to YouTube. So if you do have a YouTube account, we would appreciate it if you log in with your account, like our channel, subscribe to our channel, and watch the show whenever you get a chance.
Right, and if you're not getting a good stream here, you can also go and get it live streaming on Facebook by going to DracutTelevision.org. I always get that screwed up. Right,
it's
Phil?
Dracut, the letters TV, so DracutTV.org.
Okay, Phil, and that's different from the regular on demand. Correct?
That's correct. So that'll DracutTV.org will bring you to the Dracut Access Television website, and then you can link on demand or live streaming.
So if you have any questions and you want to send us questions during the week when we're not on, you can send us questions through our email address at whatshappeningdracut@gmail.com. And I check that occasionally during the week to see what we have, if there's anybody looking for any particular subject to be discussed, or but maybe you have an issue that you want us to investigate, and we'll do that. And you can join in the conversation as always, because we're broadcasting live, 957-4243. 957-4243. I'm getting a little bit tongue-tied, kind of a Joe Biden moment. I'm sorry.
Pull out your card.
What?
Pull out your card.
I know. I have some cards in here, but I must have been. But I do have my cheat sheets, because we all have to have cheat sheets, right? And we have
Always.
a schedule. We got a schedule going on, and I got a new earpiece in because we're going to hear if people call in. And the other day when I had the earpiece hanging, my wife kept saying, "Oh, it looked like you were going to lose your hearing aid." Is your hearing aid hanging out? So now I'm going to have a little bit of hard time. We got to investigate into how we can do Bluetooth instead of having all these wires. I feel like I'm wired up for an electrocardiogram or something.
Yeah.
You know? So before we get into the meat of our show, right? And we don't have a timer tonight. What happened to the timer?
Oh, let's see. We're on an hour. We're not on seconds anymore because we're on the minutes now.
Oh my goodness.
So we have 1:22 to go.
Oh, so now I get it. So now it's going down by minutes because the clock isn't long enough. We have an in-studio clock so we can keep track of where we are in the show, right?
Or else we'd run forever.
Yeah, we would, because we have so much to talk about. But before we get into all of that, we have the most awesome guy that does our, long-term weather here at our What's Happening Dracut show, and he's with Mill City Weather, right?
Right. I can't wait to see what he's got for us for Easter. Hopefully
we have good weather, and we'll talk a little bit about that after we get his report. So, Sean, you're up. Take it away, buddy.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me once again tonight. And here's a look at the forecast for tonight, at least. We're going to be dropping it down into the 50s tonight, so not really that much. It will get a little bit more humid, especially as we head into the overnight hours. And again, rain for this evening and later on into tonight, too. It will get heavier, especially as we head into the overnight hours. As we head into Thursday, again, rain's going to be with us. It will be off and on. I don't think it's going to be a washout for most of the day. Again, mostly cloudy through the day, but there will be the occasional rain shower. Hit or miss, especially inside the Merrimack Valley and going into Worcester County and maybe even into the south coast of Massachusetts too. So 57, not really going to warm it up that much as we do head into Thursday. Thursday night though, it is going to clear out, especially as we head into the afternoon hours, later on into the evening, and we will get down into the 20s. Again, clear skies, so any of the heat that we have is going to go way up, and again, back into the 20s as we do head into Thursday night. Here is a look at your exclusive 8-day forecast. Wednesday wasn't that bad, 67 for a high temp. Thursday, we're going to be in the 50s, and then we are going to warm it up just a little bit, especially as we head into Easter on Sunday, 62 degrees for a high temp. And that's it for now, everyone. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you very much, Sean. Sean does a great job for us. He's also works for Channel 7. Am I right, Phil?
That's correct.
He does all of their graphics for Channel 7. He's a great guy, does great work, and we're very, very pleased to have him with us and have him on our show.
We really should have a wall of fame here at DATV because we've had a number of people that have gone on to excellent careers.
Yeah. Well, Tyler Dumas is one that brings to mind. He's in New Hampshire now, I believe. Rhode Island. He's in Rhode Island. He started in New Hampshire, went out to the Midwest, and now he's back into, I think he's in Providence.
Yeah.
Which is a good time market, big time market. He's getting closer to Boston. But he mentioned Easter, and Easter's going to be what, 62 degrees?
62.
Is that a good?
That's good.
That's good?
Yeah, that's good.
So I'm trying to get my landscape guy to come down and start doing some of the work around my yard because I'm getting lazier as I get older and I don't want to do as much yard work. So Derek, let's go. Let's go, Betty.
The Farmer's Almanac always says April 19th, though.
Oh, I know.
So you're supposed to wait till April 19th before you do anything.
April 19th?
Quick fact, yep. Quick fact. April 19th, yep.
So Phil, you had something you wanted to talk about because you attended a grand opening.
There was a grand opening.
Ribbon cutting.
Yes, a ribbon cutting.
We seem to be having a lot of ribbon cuttings
Yeah,
now.
here in Dracut on 1827 Bridge Street. Behind Wignall's Veterinary Hospital, there was a grand opening for the Giving Tree Assisted Living Facility, Senior Living Facility. So it's a project that I was architect on and had worked on for, at this point, about five and a half years. And there was 3 years of construction. It was an existing building that was renovated, some 34,000 square feet, and 66,000 square feet was added to it. So it was a pretty big facility. Again, assisted living, so there's 160 units in it with all the amenities. Fabulous. It was well attended. We had officials from the town of Dracut, Allison Janess, or
Select woman.
Vice Chairman, Select Woman.
Yeah.
She attended, Kathy Graham, Ann Vandal, Chief Brule, a couple of other people. So it was a nice event that we're seeing this sort of economic development coming to Dracut. And I like to believe that I'm part of it.
Yeah. There are some people that want to say,
Shameless
you do
plug.
nothing, Phil. And as a friend of yours, are you going to have some time for your friend? Because you keep saying, I'm too busy, John. I'm too busy, John. I'm too busy, John.
There's 24 hours in a day, and I do seem to fill them up. So, but always make time for a quick coffee and friends.
That's right. Yeah, and you do. And have you seen that building over there on Bridge Street?
I have not.
You got to get over there. It's really a big building, and it really blends in with what's already on that property, and it's a great thing for Dracut because it is, assisted living is something that we're obviously going to need a lot of going forward, right? Because
Yeah.
we have a lot of people that
Absolutely.
are at that age bracket that are going to need it. But we have a couple people on here today on Facebook that are watching us. We have, I'm going to mention them, Angel. Angel, good to see you. I don't know what the blue face was all about. Oh yeah, but what about the new building on the corner of Lakeview and Mammoth Road, Phil? That's a beautiful
it's
building,
an office
too.
building. That's a 15,000 square feet office building. There's already a couple of CPAs in there, a dentist. They're looking for more medical professions. So it's really a gem for the Collinsville area, and I mean, high-paying jobs, great location. It'll bring more people into Dracut.
That's good. So we're going to get into a little bit more stuff as we go along. So we wanted to talk a little bit about Dracotown Elections, which is coming up. And Gordy, we've had a couple of things that have happened with the Board of Selectmen over the last week or so, where they voted to change the date of the Dracut elections. And do you know why they voted to do that?
No, why don't you tell the viewers, John?
Gordy, we got to get you more involved to watch this stuff. Well, I'm going to say this. It was a good reason why. Because of COVID, the school department had issues with using the junior high school where we have a majority of our precincts, right? So it was better suited to, rather than look for another place to move everything to that was off of school property. Kathy Graham worked around and tried to say that it was easier for them to just move it to Saturday. So they moved it back a week to Saturday the 8th. So if you're a candidate in a short election, that extra week, that gives you some time to do some stuff, especially if you're a challenger, So there are a couple of other changes that they made. One was they voted to do early voting, right? And they also we always have absentee ballots, so you can get an absentee ballot by calling the clerk's office or emailing them, I believe. But if you call them and there's a procedure, you'll have to fill out a form or what have you for an absentee ballot, and then you'll be able to fill it out and go in and cast your vote before you're going away, or if you're not able to be in town during election week or day. And then they also voted for early voting. So early in-person voting, and what are those dates? You have that?
Yeah, so Nate, you want to bring this up on the screen? I'll bring this up for our viewers to take a look at. So they're going to start a week early. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger here.
There you go.
So vote by mail, you can get an application. There's a link on the website, Dracotown website, to do that. Or you can send an email to elections@dracutma.gov. And you can fill out your application, sign and send it back to them. Then the in-person early voting will happen. Normally it's Saturday a week before May 1st, 9 to 2, Sunday, May 2nd from 9 to 2, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, which is May 3rd, 5th, and 6th from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And then lastly, Tuesday, May 4th from 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. So that's the late day. If you want to vote early in person later in the day after work, for example, Tuesday, May 4th would be the best day to do it because polls are open till 7 on that day.
That's awesome. So the big day on the 8th, why don't you repeat those times once again?
Yeah, so the in-person election day, that May 8th, is from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And there's a link here to find your election information. So that just takes you to the Secretary of State website. But I don't know if they're doing it all in the same place.
Right.
At the junior high, or
Yeah, I believe
all precincts are going to the junior high, I believe.
I'm not sure if all of them are. Do you?
It didn't say on the notice.
It did not
last
say
time. Last time they had it all at the Inglesby.
All 9 precincts?
All precincts were in the Inglesby.
Okay.
So I don't know if they're still doing that.
So that's interesting because Angel also asked, didn't they have it at the Campbell School? And yeah.
Normally that's where we would go in our area.
But during COVID, they did it all at one place.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was pretty efficient down there. But they still have the senior center. Am I correct? Did they still do the senior center, or was everybody at
I believe everybody was in one location.
Okay, so that's a good question. We need to find that answer out so that we can get that out to people.
So
But
it should be noted that the Friday before the election, November 7th, there is no early voting.
Right, correct.
right. So if you're going to vote, you need to, if you want to early vote, and that would be at Town Hall, and that would be at those specific times, and I believe they take over the Board of Selectmen's room, and they set up in there for early voting, if I'm not mistaken.
They did last time.
So that's probably what they're
Yeah.
going to do again. So if you want to do that then. So we got through that part of it. And if you have any questions, we are on Facebook. You can send us some messages here, and there are people that are active out there. And, Angel had her question, and we answered it, I hope, Angel. And we hope that we keep moving forward with other questions if they come forward. And any comments you want to make, jump in. We're happy to bring them forward for you. I'm glad that you're on the early schedule like we are right now. So we're going to get into the different elections, but we're going to start off with a special report from our Cub reporter, Richard Silvio, who went out and decided he's going to interview some candidates. And of course, he picked one candidate, and I didn't even know about this until yesterday or today that he did this, because I told Richard, you do whatever you want to do, that's your 10 minutes. If you want to go out and learn how to milk cows, you can learn how to milk cows. I says, but whatever you want to do, that's your gig. So he went out and he interviewed one of the candidates for selectman, and let's roll that tape now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Richard Silvio, reporting for Dracut Chronicles. I'm currently sitting at the Matthew Boulay Memorial Park with Phil Thibault, who is running for Dracut Selectman. Hello, Phil. How are you?
Hi, very well, Rich. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So, Phil, let's just, let's hit the ball right. Let's hit the hammer right on the head.
Okay.
How long have you lived in the town of Dracut?
58 years so far. I'm a lifelong resident. My family, my father's side, was also from Dracut.
58 years. Wow, that's a long time.
So far. Well, I hope it's going to be longer.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah.
So you're running for selectman, is that correct?
That is correct. It's been a number of times I've done it. I don't disagree with that. But when I see that a job needs to be done, I just don't give up when things get tough. So there are still a lot of things that need to be done, and I've been here all along. I don't intend to go away, and I get in there and get things done.
So, like you said, you've ran multiple times for selectman. What makes you, do you think that this time will be the ticket, or?
Oh, absolutely. I have a broader base of support. A lot of people have been approaching me, saying that they want to support me. In the past, it has been somewhat, I'll give you some support, but I'm not going to come out publicly. Right. They've all assured me that this time they will be very public about their support. So as the campaign starts to get going, they're all going to be coming forward.
What do you think is different this year, or this election cycle, rather? The apparent
I mean, it's glaring how it's that Joe Dracut is interested in government only for himself. Essentially, how can government better himself and his friends? Where I am, the government needs to be best for the citizens of Dracut.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm all about.
Absolutely.
I've been involved in town government for 20 plus years at this point, on a number of boards, and you know, I sometimes jokingly say it's shorter for me to name the boards I haven't been on than the ones I have. But I mean, very important boards, planning board, capital planning, that I was able to promote the Collinsville Fire Station, Station 3. I mean, it was through that meeting that I really gave a push to get it done, and within 6 years, we have a new fire station that's opened up.
That's right, we do.
I was chairman of the Master Plan Committee, and that was a 2-year process that essentially looked at the town, what it was like, what the citizens wanted it to become, and then we formulated a plan to essentially outline how that can be done within the next 10 years.
That's absolutely wonderful, Phil. You know, it sounds like, you know, like you said, you have lots of experience. You've been around the town of Dracut, both politically and socially. Are there any pressing issues at this moment that you would like to tackle if elected selectman?
So there are a number of things. They do get kind of wonky. Certainly the master plan, which was adopted by the planning board in the town, needs to have an implementation committee to make sure that, hey, that we're not just putting this up on the shelf and in 15 or 20 years from now we'll take a look at it again and do another one and let it sit on the shelf. So we need people who are going to look at it and say, these are the goals we need to accomplish. That needs to be done, and it's been almost a year and a half and that still has not been done. So that needs to be pushed. Zoning bylaws need to be reworked, and I've been touting that for the last, I think, 5 or 10 years. The zoning bylaws are over 35 years old, and they don't reflect the town that the people want to develop, how they want to use the different areas of the town. So the zoning maps, I mean, it has to go through as a full cohort, if you want. So there are a number of things. Navy Yard, where we're sitting right now, is really a gem for Dracut. It's a beautiful location. It's kind of one of Dracut's downtown areas. We have economic development that should be taking place here, and that has been stifled by the current administration.
So I assume that you've heard, you know, the saying that Dracut is not a very business-friendly town.
That is one problem I have, because I would have to admit that is true. Even though some people try to whistle past the graveyard and say, oh, you know, we're very friendly. When push comes to shove, and I'm fond of saying actions don't lie, or behavior does not lie. So you can say that we're business friendly, and then if the actions certainly tell developers and engineers and architects that that's not true. I mean, it's too difficult to work here. They stay away.
You know, that's very well put, Phil. You know, speaking of businesses coming to Dracut, I know there's been some controversy over the marijuana shops opening up around the area. How do you feel about marijuana shops coming to Dracut?
It's nothing that I partake in, but it's legal now. So, I mean, Dracut's allowed to have 4 retail shops for recreational use, and I think we have all 4 of them slated at this point. 2 are open. 2 are still, I think, are under construction at the moment. There's a cultivation that's been approved over on Lakeview Ave in the Collinsville area. It's in an old mill. Nobody will ever know it's there, but it's perfect. It takes up a lot of space in an old mill and helps revitalize that section because it's really generating some good taxes. So, I really have no objections to it. It's again nothing that I really care for. But, you know, as they say, everything in moderation.
Everything in moderation, absolutely.
Including moderation sometimes.
You know, I'd just like to circle back real quick to your campaign. So, as you mentioned earlier, your campaign is really starting to take off now. Do you have any plans for any sort of door-to-door knocking or signs or anything of that nature?
We're going to certainly try that with you know, COVID policies. It's certainly difficult. So, but they seem to be loosening up a bit. So we're going to start to try to do things. We're trying to plan a campaign party where people can get together. We'll probably try to do it outside so people can socially distance, and but we can still gather, and with a bullhorn or with just a loud voice, make sure that everybody can hear me, and just talk to people. I know at one past campaign, I shocked everybody after giving my little stump speech, if you want. I asked if there were any questions, and people were just taken back by that, because nobody asked for questions at these campaign parties. It's like, I know you might be speaking to the choir, but there are people who have questions, and why not? I think I know the material I'm talking about. Ask me a question. If I don't know the answer, I will plainly say I really don't know, and I'll find out.
And it's a very admirable quality, Phil. So is there anything else that you'd like to say on behalf of yourself or your campaign to the people who may be watching this?
Well, certainly, as I said previously, behavior does not lie. Look at what my opponent has done over the last 15 years, and look what I've done over the past 15 years, and I think if you put them side by side, I don't usually pat myself on the back, but I outshine him dramatically.
I'm sure those facts are very true, and they will show through on Election Day. Well, thank you very much, Phil. This has been Richard Silvio with the Dracut Chronicles Report. Have a lovely night.
So that's Richard Silvio with the Dracut Chronicles. He's even given it a name.
Wow.
How about that? That's great. I'm happy to see that.
I'm impressed with that candidate.
What's that?
I'm impressed with that candidate.
Yeah, I am too. I am too. We had a couple of questions from some people that called in, not called in, but they're writing in on Facebook. One is from Chris Hall, who says, "What controversy?" We were going to skip some of this, but we'll talk about it now. It has zero impact. I think you were talking about the marijuana, the cannabis placing here, and I'm not sure what exactly. Treat them like any other retail store. And you're absolutely right, Chris, but there are regulations that they have to be in place for them. There are state, you know better than me.
There are state regulations, that there's distances from certain schools. You have to be 1,000 feet away from that. So there are a number of regulations that need to take place that can make it more challenging to cite a cannabis retail location.
Now, because you're an architect and you're familiar with this because you've been on the planning board. What are some of the issues from the town's perspective that could misplace?
So the initial article for during town meeting, the zoning bylaw, if you want, regulated it to an I-1 zone, an industrial 1 zone. I think their desire there was to keep the use away from residential uses, business uses, kind of isolated. I don't think they did a very good job, because if you look at the zoning maps, we have I-1s all over the place. The Beaverbrook Mills and the Navy Yard are an I-1 zone. The Collinsville Mills, as a matter of fact, the mill that we're in right now is an I-1 zone. Mm-hmm. So they're scattered throughout the town in some of the older industrial areas. So the I-1 zone essentially puts it smack in the middle of two downtown areas in Dracut. So if you're trying to isolate it, poor decision.
Awesome. And Chris says she's very familiar with the regs, which is good, and I have some familiarity with them, but I turned to Phil because he's right in the mix of it, and he knows he's been doing it for a number of years now, trying to get some sightings done here in Dracut. But I think we have a phone call. Am I correct?
Yes, we were told
we have a phone call. All right. So who do we have on the line? Hello.
Hello?
Hello, you're on the air.
Hey, John, it's me.
Hey, Richard, how are you?
Hey, John. Hey, Phil. Hey, Gordy. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Great.
Well, I'm watching, so I'm doing pretty good.
So, Richard, let me first of all commend you. It was a good job, very good job on that little piece that you did. But now I know you're reaching out to other candidates. You reached out to Joe DeRocco already. You told me, and which is good.
That's correct.
And I've had nothing to do with that, and neither has Phil. Phil has not asked you to do any of that, and I'm not asking you to do that. Nor is Gordy. And you did this on your own. Am I correct?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, so the only thing I'm going to ask you now is that you make sure there is no equal time laws for access. But I'd like you to at least give him as much time as you gave Phil on that little piece. And I
Well, you know what? Here's how I see it, John. All right? If Joe has more to say to Phil, I'll give him twice the amount of time.
Good for you.
You know, whatever you have to say to the camera, that's all it is.
Good for you, and we'll be happy to play it. And to that end, I'll invite him or any other candidate to come on here and sit on the air live and talk. Let's talk, right? Let's have a conversation.
That's all it's about.
And we'll invite whoever else. You know, the lucky cabal. Anybody involved with the cabal is lucky you're lucky, but you're also welcome to come on to this show. We'll be happy to talk to you. You know, we'd be happy to.
Please, I'll sit down and have a tea party with anybody who wants to.
I'd be having a lot of fun with that one, believe me. But let them come on. Come on, if you want to say that you're not in the politics of the game here, right, Gordy?
Yeah.
If you're going to say you're a private citizen and you're not involved, then come on the show and prove it to me.
Right.
Because
That's all.
That Town Hall West is also the headquarters for Joe DeRocco. But again, you come on anytime you want to come on. So we're all done with that. Thanks again. Do you have anything else you want to add?
You know, I just want to say, Mr. Joe DeRocco, if you're watching right now and listening, I've left 2 voicemails with the Selectman's office. You have my name, you have my number, so please contact me. I want to talk to you.
Okay. And I think you should reach out to those school committee candidates and the whatever other candidates you want to talk to. We have a water district commissioner who's running unopposed. Maybe he'd like to talk to you, do a little piece.
I'll get them all. Don't worry about that.
For the next 5 weeks, we're live here for the next 4 weeks anyways. So it would be good to get those things, get the other candidates on and get their perspective of what their vision is for Dracut. Thanks again, Richard.
Absolutely.
Thanks for calling in. Great job as usual. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much, John. Have a good night, guys.
We'll see you.
See ya.
Thank you. Jen Scott says that she loves Richard Silvio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jen Scott. Okay. He's a great kid, Jen. You're absolutely right.
He's a great kid.
He really is, and he's trying his darndest to get involved in local politics, and he's really doing a good job, and he's on his own, pretty much. So we wanted to now get away from that for a minute and get into the COVID.
Frank's favorite topic.
Frank McManaman's
Yes.
favorite topic. Frank, if you're watching, it's the COVID section. So go get your tea or your coffee or whatever you want to get.
Right.
You know, if you have to go to the men's room, do that also. But okay, Gordy, give us some stuff.
Well, just real quickly, we talked about on our last show about the vaccinations that were happening throughout the state and throughout the country. So I think that is we're in a good place. I think we're getting close to 40% the population now with at least one shot. So I think you'll start seeing these numbers drop. And I know they've been talking about some of the spring breakers down in Florida with some high numbers, but what you're not seeing is those people dying, because those people that are at spring break aren't elderly people that are sick. It's young healthy people. So they may be getting COVID, but they're not showing any ill effects from the disease. So they can spread it, though. However, but we're not seeing a lot of deaths. Deaths have really declined dramatically. But what I wanted to bring up is the local stuff from the latest report we have from the state. So Nate, if you could bring up my screen. Well, I'll bring your attention to here is Dracut is in the yellow. So we have 27.1 incidents per 100,000, and we have a 4.63% positivity rate. So to go in the red, you need to be the incident rate here has to be over 10, and the percent positivity has to be over 5, and we're just under 5 at 4.63. And I know some neighboring towns we can quickly look at is Lowell, right? And they're a little bit larger population. But let's just go back up to Lowell here quickly. Whoops.
So this is back from the 23rd. So we're about...
Yeah, because the state only does it every Thursday.
Okay.
Since we're Wednesday, the report will be coming out tomorrow. So this is last week. You can see Lowell is at 30.6 incidents per 100,000. And they're at 4.91, so they're just over the red. They're just on the red border of red.
Lowell, I have Lowell is currently in the red. I just got that report from a reliable source. It said they're in the red and they're at 11%, as is Lawrence. Chelmsford is also in the red with 11. There's other cities and towns within Massachusetts. It's gone from 10 to about 23 communities or 33 communities that are now in the red, and most of this is because of an uptick of gatherings. Barnstable is having some sort of a little bit of a surge. They're up about 15%. Dennis is about 15%. But again, Gordy, I think it all stems to what you said. It's a younger age, because statistics came out from CDC. I heard them the other day that the CDC statistics show that almost 80% of those people over 65 are now, they've had one shot, at least one shot. So we've got a lot of people that are in that really critical, vulnerable group that now have been inoculated, at least with their first shot, and many of them with their second shot. I've had my second shot. In fact, I'm 3 days away from having my 14 days after my second shot with no problems whatsoever. And I got Pfizer, and I had no reaction to it. And now we're, I'm just waiting for Friday, and hopefully we go forward. Have you heard that the CDC director came out yesterday and said that the current data is showing that anyone who has been vaccinated, now that's fully vaccinated, the statistics are showing that they cannot carry it, or they are not carrying it, and they are not getting it.
And not spreading it.
They're not spreading it.
That's the most
They're
important.
not getting it. And they're not, so that's an important issue. That's a big jump.
I think
towards
it was.
herd
I
immunity.
think they said 14 days after you've been vaccinated. I believe the statistic was
you
they
get to fully-
tested people 14 days after they were vaccinated, and
Right.
they're not getting it, spreading it.
Which is good.
Right.
So,
that's what you
so
want.
these jumps in numbers, they are also saying that these jumps in numbers are obviously related to the younger people being less cautious, but they're not getting full-blown COVID, and the hospital stays are still down. I believe the last week, do you have any hospital stay statistics?
They're down. I don't with me, but they're all down.
They were under 600
Yes.
for the state of Massachusetts
Right.
Just last week, the other day anyways. And I know that that herd immunity,
When you get half the people in the state that have already had a vaccination, then it's kind of hard for the.
so what else do you have on that report?
That's it for the report, but I did want to mention I have a vacation coming up in May, so
Yep.
I did notice I got an alert today from the airlines that it's no longer mandatory to do your testing when you leave and come back to the state. It's now an advisory, so they changed it from mandatory to an advisory.
And that's now?
Yes, as of today. So
Oh, that's good.
that's good news. I think we're starting to see the tide turn, and hopefully things will go back to normal.
Now, there
Hopefully,
is-
as the president said, July 4th, right? That's the
right,
target
that you
date?
might be able to have a small gathering.
Yeah.
Oh, please, give me a break. But I just did get more information on Dracut. Have you got any Dracut figures at all over there that you can pull up? Because today, for the second day in a row, Dracut has gone over, the 2 days in a row, which was as of yesterday, 2 days in a row, the rate is 10%. So those testing are now coming out at 10%. Did you hear that?
No, the latest says I have is from last week, and we're still at 4%. So
Okay, so hopefully we can get some more information.
maybe those are spring breakers or something,
right
That are
well, if they're
partying.
breaking in Dracut, they're not going very
A
far.
lot of college kids I know a lot of college kids that are on spring break right
On
now.
the sandy shores of Beaverbrook.
Exactly. Which, by the way, is a great place to walk along those shores of Beaverbrook. I mean, it runs right along Lakeview Ave, right?
Yep.
And there's a nice little area down there by the park that you were interviewed in.
John, a real quick segue before we get into the next segment. I did take a walk with my wife over at Veterans Park. I don't know if you've been over there in the past couple
I was there today. Yeah.
I just noticed the sod. They have the signs up about asking no one to walk on the sod. But I did know it didn't look like it was in that great a shape to me when I was looking at it. Just visually, it didn't look like it was
green?
Yeah,
Greening up?
it
It's
was-
still spring. It's still
No,
not.
but there was a lot of holes in the sod. Like some of the areas were nice and lush,
Yeah.
but a lot of it didn't
Really?
look very nice to me. I don't know. That was just I said we spent over $1 million. It just didn't look like
Did
we
you
spent
walk
that.
in the actual?
We walked around
Just
the whole
the perimeter.
thing. Yeah, the perimeter.
Well, some of the rain will get that. I mean, I think it's. I mean,
it does look better, but I'm just saying it for the money we spent. It doesn't look like it's in the best of shape.
okay, Mr. Negative over here.
Well, I mean, typically
just
it
my
takes-
opinion, but-
it takes 2 years or so for
Yeah.
sod to really take root. And
Right.
So this year, I believe they should be able to use it.
Yeah, they've taken down the signs, by the way, to know.
Okay,
that
yeah,
you
because
can walk-
we were
you
there a
can now
couple days
walk on
over
them.
the weekend, and the signs were still up.
So we're done with the COVID report, and now Frank should be back with his coffee and donuts, and we should be able to get started on the next segment. Let's talk a little bit about the school department and the school committee. We have incumbent Joe Wilkie, who's running for re-election, and he's done a really decent job there. I mean, he's now probably the senior member with Betsy leaving. He might be still the senior member even with Betsy
I
on there, is he?
believe so, because he's finishing up his third term, I
Okay.
believe.
And Betsy was 9 years, I think. So they might have been on together. Oh, they were, because, no, they weren't
No,
on together.
I believe she started the year after.
Okay. Okay, but Betsy is leaving the board, but she's not resigning until April 5th, I believe.
Correct.
So she's moving to Florida.
But she will not be attending a meeting. They don't have a meeting before April 5th, so.
Before she leaves, yeah. So she'll be going south.
Yeah.
Wish we were going with her. And do you know where she's moving to? Not Port Lucie, but somewhere between St. Augustine's, I think, and Daytona Beach,
Yeah.
which is a long stretch. But I know she's
on the East
north.
Coast.
She's on the East Coast. And it's good for her. If you didn't have a chance to see the interview that I conducted with Betsy, it was very interesting, and it got a little bit emotional as we went along. But we played that as a special presentation on our last show. You can see it. You can catch it on DATV or DracutTelevision.org or DracutTV.org. I say television all the time, and I know Phil is over here. He's ready to slap me on the forehead and say, "No, it's Dracut TV," because I make that mistake all the time. But if you want to call in and make a correction, you want to tell us that we're not telling the truth on something, you want to converse with us, we're 978-957-4243. Call in. We'll be happy to talk to you. Any subject at all. You can interrupt the subject. You're bored with what we're talking about. You want to talk about the Patriots. You want to talk about football. You want to talk about Dracut football. Call in. We're welcoming it in. But we also have other candidates that are running. And the school committee race just got really interesting because last week, Jill Armano, who was a very formidable candidate, has withdrawn from the race. You heard that?
Yes, but I don't know what the reasoning was.
Okay, well, it's been widely rumored that it's personal, and family. So we'll leave it at that, and I think that's a good reason to not run for something. I didn't run for selectman because my family said that there's a tree out back that they would hang me from if I did that. So at this point,
sometimes the reason given is the reason.
is right, exactly.
Not,
So
how many spots are up then?
there are two positions up in the school, on the school committee, and that is, like I said, Joe Wilkie, who's an incumbent, and what's her name? Here we go. Sue Goufagafis.
And then what happens with Betsy's?
Betsy's position will be open as of April 5th, and by the charter, they have a specific amount of time. Not only by the charter, but by state law. If it's not spelled spelled out in the charter that there's an election, then by state law, the school committee and the Board of Selectmen get together jointly with the remaining members of the school committee, and they elect a candidate, but that has to be advertised, and they have to go through a vetting process to do that. So it's not the second place winner or the last place winner and the loser in the last race that comes in like Lowell. If the losing candidate, if somebody resigns, the next candidate in play gets the seat. That's not how our charter is, and that's something that we should really look at because we spend a lot of money on special elections.
John, we have another phone call.
We do. We have another phone call. Awesome. So who do we have? I'm not going to put the earpiece back in, but who do we have? Maybe I'll be able to hear him. Hello?
Hello.
How are you? Who's calling?
Don Morowski.
Don Morowski. Oh, another great another great person that likes to
Don,
watch that show.
is Frank with you watching the show?
No, Frank's waiting to have coffee with you.
And talk about COVID.
Yep, he says, Jesus, he can't get off of it.
I love it. Don Morowski is a longtime Dracut resident here. He has been an activist in this community much beyond anybody that I know that still exists in Dracut. He's done a lot of things in the community. He's ran for office. He was an assessor. He ran the concession stand down at Veterans Park. He had a big part of that whole park. Great guy. His son is also on the fire department. I mean, his whole family is invested, right, Don?
That's correct, sir.
It's great to hear from you. What gives you a reason to call tonight?
Yeah, what I'm calling, I've been involved, especially with Dracut football, for going back to even before 1947. But and I'm just wondering, as I look on, and as we go on, I was wondering what the heck happened to Dracut Pride. I don't see it any longer. I can't get any answers to it. Nobody's given me any answers to it. But the way the football program has gone down and down and down. Now, when I went to 3 football games this year so far,
it wasn't pretty, was it, Don? It wasn't pretty.
Become more creative in how we stay connected.
No.
Day to day.
But what I want to say is that, they've gone 3 games and scored 6 points.
Wow.
Now, I sit there and got embarrassed the other night when they had to pull the mercy rule on them. And the mercy rule means that the clock continues, timeouts, whatever. The clock just don't stop. And man, that's what really went up my butt. But I'm looking. I can't blame all the kids for it. The kids are out there trying, and I see a roster of 30s and a little bit less. And even back in my times, back in '57, we used to have 40 or 45 kids. We don't have them out there now. I understand it's different, changing times, but it's also changing times for the other towns. And I see a town that's our size, like the town of Tewksbury, okay, over and over going to the Super Bowl and winning all the time. Now, we're down to this mercy rule, and that just broke my heart to see everything that Coach Edmund Murphy put in, Pat Murphy, no relation, put in Coach Moore. And to see this happening at Dracut High School. We got a great facility. My feeling is that we haven't sold that facility to the kids. Okay, and people are going to blame it on Corvus 19. Well, Corvus 19, okay, applied to all the teams. They couldn't start practice till the 21st of the month. They were allowed 1 scrimmage. So, we're on equal terms with all the teams in the state. And to see this program just disintegrating, and on top of the mercy rule, it was senior night, and the only ones over there were greeting people with the kids with their parents was the coaches around the 40-yard line. I should think the principal of the high school should be there. The superintendent should be there to greet these kids. These kids are special kids. They're out there trying and working hard. But as I look at it, I'm looking at, kids that, are just not being coached right. I see the linemen standing up, taking blocks. God no sin. I don't see any blitzing going on, and blitzing means blowing the linebackers. I don't see any flex defenses. And I see the same plays over and over. So there is a problem there. And I just, I'm getting blown off when I ask these particular questions.
Wow.
And, this is what I wanted to comment on.
Wow. Well, Dawn, certainly our viewers and I know our panel can hear the passion in your voice that you have for the Dracut kids who have gone out for football here in Dracut. And I hear the passion in your voice as to, how the Dracut pride used to be much greater than you believe it is today. And I think COVID has had something to do with that, but not everything to do with that. And I think your point is well taken about the principal maybe being down at the field to try to greet the kids and boost them up. And we know that there's only a certain amount of people that are allowed at the field because of COVID and social distancing. But I mean, this is an outdoor event. This field is huge. I mean, they should be able to have more people involved that go down there. And we do hope that there's better days ahead for Dracut football. What say you, Gordy?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Don. I think the biggest part of what happened this year is because football, as we know, is normally in the fall, and it got extended due to COVID-19 to the spring, and now you're interfering with soccer and some other sports that those kids play, and now they got to make a decision: do I play football, or do I play soccer, or do I play another
Soccer's
sport?
going at the same time right now?
Yeah, so everything all the spring sports are going on. Normally in the fall, it's football and track, pretty much. That's what you have.
But I thought they were having a separate winter 2 type of season that some of the, I know lacrosse isn't going right
But
now.
normally when the spring comes around, you've got baseball, you've got, you got to start your training and all that stuff. And I know that the 3 games they lost pretty handily, 21-0, 45-6. And 35-0. So it hasn't been, because Dracut, that was kind of always our sport. Football is kind of what we've always been good in. Basketball, we've been struggling with this forever, having issues with our teams. And now basketball is getting better and football is declining. So
Chris Hall has talked about, she's saying that, the kids haven't played in over a year. And they're talking about, she's also mentioned that, there's no more. There's a need for a guy like Ed Murphy to come back, steady leadership and the coaches. But, Dawn, if there's nothing else you have to add, we're going to let you go.
Just a couple things, Gordy. I take issue with you. The same things are happening in the other towns.
They are.
And so forth. Okay,
Right.
so, I'm hearing these excuses all the time, And I'm not picking on you, Gordy, at all. I'm just saying that, it's an excuse. And
We like somebody to pick on Gordy once in a while. You can do that, Dawn. All right, my friend, we'll talk soon.
Just one other thing, John, before I close. Just even before this COVID-19, the Methuen Dracut Thanksgiving Day game used to draw like 6,000 to 7,000 people. And that was up into the, right up into the 20s. And, you don't see 600 of them people there now. There's something wrong. And like I said, I was always taught, ask the question, why, 5 times, and you should get an answer. Well, this is one time I'm not getting an answer.
Okay, well, we'll keep abreast of that, and you keep us up to date on this, okay, Donnie?
Certainly will. Thank you, John.
Thank you, my friend. Thanks for calling, and say hello to Frank for us.
I'll give him Gordy's regards.
Great job. All right. Thank you. Thank you very
Have a
much.
good one.
So we're going to move right along here. We got people saying, "Oh, time to move this thing along. Enough already." Right? Okay, so we're going to move it along a little bit more here. So, school committee race is Jill Armano dropped out. And we have, oh God, I'm getting a phone call. Don't most of my friends know that I'm on TV right now? Tell us who the candidates are for school committee right now, Phil.
So we, apart from Joe Wilkie, who is the incumbent, we have Rosemary Espinal, who is running, and also Rebecca Duda. A lot of people know who Rebecca Duda is. She was a teacher in the Dracut school system. She's an author for a lot of history, a couple of history books here in Dracut, and also writes an article for the Lowell Sun regarding some historical facts of Dracut. Very entertaining.
Yes,
I look forward to
she would
seeing those
be
articles.
a formidable candidate now that I believe that Jill is out of the race, because I thought Jill somehow was going to be a very formidable candidate.
Well, knowing how Jill campaigned for her husband during the Senate campaign, and knowing that many people said, "How come you're not running for senator?"
Yeah,
I tend to agree with that. She's very formidable. She gets laser focused, and she gets the task done. So, if not now, it'll be soon, I'm sure.
yeah. Do we know anything about Rosemary Espinal?
No.
Not many people
I
know
have not
anything
heard
about
anything.
her. I know that she is a member of Dracut Access Television. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yes.
I haven't combed over the membership.
No, I
list.
haven't either, but somebody told me that she is a member
Well,
here.
good. There should be more members
Right,
here.
we want more members, and that she's interested in. She might be interested in doing the show. There's not many people around with that name, Rosemary Espinal. So I'm sure that's somebody that we would welcome to come down. As we welcome anyone to come down and do a show.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to just tell people that I know that DATV has a apparatus to allow candidates to do what we call advocacy programs for their candidacy. And I know that a letter will be going out, or if it hasn't already gone out, and that they will be welcome to come down and make their own show, or make their own advocacy, tape, submission. And I know I'm going to do it. By the way, I'm the first guy to do it, in Dracut. If you remember when I ran for selectman, I came down and I taped
Wait a minute. So you're doing one of these?
I'm going to do one.
I'm guessing there's going to be 2 other people that are going to do it. As soon as they know that you announced this now.
Well, I'm on here. I mean, I'm giving you a lot. I'm giving myself a lot of chances to screw up by being here. So I'm sure there's people out there that don't agree with me.
Mr. Bogue will be doing one shortly after you do one.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. We have John Curtis. What do you mean by Covis? Did somebody say something?
I think Don
mentioned Covis. Oh, yeah. Okay. It might have been a slip of the tongue. As we get older, we make slips of the tongue. I'm doing it all the time. Just ask Joe Biden, John. I know you're a big Joe Biden fan, John Curtis. A good guy, by the way. I had coffee with him the other day. So Rebecca Duda, Joe Wilkie, Rosemary Espinal. What will be an issue going forward for the school department? What will be one of their main issues? I'm going to throw it out there. It's going to be COVID relief money, what to do with it. Because there's going to be a lot. There's already $1.2 million from the first relief package, and I'm going to guess it's probably going to be about the same, if not more, in the second package. So what are they going to do with it? I mean, would they be thinking about upgrading some of the buildings with purification systems? And
So my understanding, it needs to be somewhat related to the
Right.
health related items. Certainly, upgrading HVAC systems with the MERV 13 filters and HEPA filters, and because the senior center is actually doing something very similar to that.
The filtration system.
So the filtration systems, ventilation,
Right.
certainly some of the maintenance to make sure that you can cleanse areas.
They got a lot
properly.
of money for hand sanitizer too.
And technology. You can use it for technology. As we've seen, COVID has exposed how lacking our country has been in technology within the schools to have had remote learning such a big problem.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem. Now, I know at St. John's Prep, where I'm intimately involved with St. John's Prep as a coach, but they've done a tremendous job with all of the technology. They've upgraded everything. They upgraded everything last summer before the year even started, knowing that they were going to do this remote pretty heavily. So they really invested into all of these smart boards, which they had before, but they put new TVs in, and they've done all kinds of different technology like Zoom and that, Zoom rooms and what have you. We're having some comments from some people still. Angela thinks that SPED funding should be supplanted, I think, or maybe you think it's right that we should add
We need more money, yeah.
We do need more money for SPED, and I know my wife's a SPED para, not in Dracut, but she's a para, and my oldest daughter is a teacher, a sped teacher, and she also, you know that there's a lot of things.
Oh,
that need to be
certainly
done.
COVID has impacted those learners tremendously, and
Yep.
anything we can do to try
And
to
it's funny
remediate
because
that.
during this whole time, most SPED programs have continued with in-person learning, right? The most vulnerable people are in there. Those kids,
Yeah.
most of those kids have serious medical issues, but they've been in there and people are doing what they have to do.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to prove that, all students really thrive with that interaction, human interaction.
Absolutely.
And it's so vital, so.
So I think that will be, the recovery from COVID will be a big issue, and what to do with the money that's going to be available for schools specifically. Library trustee, Gretchen Mayall is running for re-election, and I think James Nolan is the other candidate that's running for election. There's two positions open, correct?
Brian Flaherty, I believe it is.
Is he this, but he's a challenger, I
He's,
think. Or is he on there currently?
no, he is not.
Okay. So he's not on there.
No, I thought I had heard that one of the candidates did not return nomination papers.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately,
know that.
I'm not sure.
Okay. I didn't get an update. Did you? Can you research that on
Sure.
the website to see who's been certified to go forward? And if that's true, then I think if there's two positions. Then you have Dracut Water Supply District Commissioner Billy Zielinski. Great guy, by the way. I've had some really good political conversations with him, I'll tell you that, about water district issues as well as national issues. We're pretty much on the same page on a lot of national issues. But he's running unopposed, deservedly so. He does a great job. He's got a degree in water superintendent and a degree in water, whatever it is, chemistry.
He was
whatever it is.
he was the Dracut Water Supply Superintendent
Yes, he
for
was.
a short while. Yeah.
Yes, he was. So it's a wonder that nobody's opposed. I wonder why nobody's opposing him. But yet, the Dracut Water Supply moderator, which I was the first to pull papers out for, has three people running.
The most desirable position in Dracut.
What say you about that?
Interesting. As you've said, and I've heard from other people, a fairly obscure sort of political position. There's the annual meeting that they have typically the weekend after the election on a Saturday. So I'm wondering how that's going to affect their annual meeting, because it probably will. It might push it off a week.
Yes, that's
because
very
it
interesting.
would have been it would have been May 8th this year, so it's
Exactly.
probably going to get pushed off.
So I'm sure
But-
they're scrambling about that.
But it's a meeting that they go over the business, just like town meeting, that go over the business of the water district. There's voting by the residents who are within the district on different articles. Again, very much like town meeting, but usually attended by 20 or so people.
Right, and probably 13 of them work there.
And the majority of them are employees. And I've gone to a few of them, and I'm immediately asked, "Why are you here?"
Yeah,
And I say, "Because I live within the district."
and you're interested.
And I'm interested. So,
Right. And we'd rather watch paint dry. That's why we go to those meetings.
So it's improvements to the system, expansions here and there. There's a number of articles that could be related to that, but the moderator runs the meeting.
Yep, exactly right. And I have no experience at that, do I? Oh, I have plenty of experience. I do that all the time, right? So
according to the little son, John, it's just the two people, Mayall and Flaherty.
So are the two people elected to the position?
Yes.
too? So that
And it's a
those
slam
lucky
dunk.
dogs don't have a race.
Correct.
As does Billy Zielinski.
Right.
So look, we're going to jump right in now. We're going to go right into the Board of Selectmen, because that's the hot race that I think is going to be the hottest race in town. And it should be, because it's the most important race that does a lot for the town. So Joe DeRocco is the incumbent, and Phil Thibault is the challenger. And Phil has been a challenger before. He's not, if you've been around town for a long time, you know that he's involved in a lot of things. And Phil is passionate about what he does, and I want to hear him say some things to the folks here tonight. maybe we'll grill you a little bit. Let's talk about that race, Phil.
Yeah, I guess the elephant in the room is, I've run a number of times. Yes, I have.
Right.
But, I think it's Teddy Roosevelt who said, if you show me a man who has never failed at anything, I'll show you a man who hasn't done anything.
That's right.
So, yes, I mean, I get a defeat, but I get up and I keep going. After the race, I'm always still involved in the town in some fashion. I've been on the permanent building committee for some 16 years or so. I was on the planning board. I'm Northern Middlesex Council of Government. So I'm very well vested in town, and I know a lot of what's going on. As a matter of fact, through Northern Middlesex Council of Government, we had recommended a regional emergency call center that Dracut has joined. That has saved Dracut some money. There was a communication tower that needed to be repaired or replaced through a capital planning, and it was brought to Jim Duggan had brought it to our attention, and I had said to him, that should be taken care of by the money in the regional emergency call center, and he didn't think so, and I said, please call the executive director of NEMCOG, because I've been assured that money is there for exactly that purpose. So that one phone call saved the town $250,000.
Oh, right.
So, being knowledgeable about everything that's going on like that is immensely needed within Dracut.
So, Phil, I mean, there's a lot of things. Okay, you've run before, but there's a feel about this race. There's something, I feel something is different about this race this time, and I feel that you're running more one-on-one is important, right? Let's see what happens. You've never ran a race one-on-one with Joe before.
With actually, one of the first times I ran was with Joe.
Really?
It was, and so I was within 130 votes, I believe.
How long ago was that?
Oh, that might be
A few years back.
A few years.
Okay, so that's good. So this being 130 votes out is not a big loss. It's not a huge loss.
No, and certainly. I have more energy in this because I have certainly more passion in it this time. There are a lot of things that I just can't stand anymore. As you know, my candidacy came almost at the last minute, and it started when they started talking about how they thought that Dracut was still so business friendly, and they had to talk to other boards and get them in line. It's like the Board of Selectmen is the worst offender in this. I mean, you look at Joe DeRocco, and unless you're part of his inner group, he's not going to vote for anything. We had Owen and Ollie's down over here. Great facility, great business for Dracut. And they wanted to expand their outdoor patio to get another, I think it was 20 seats or 25 seats. So it was a fairly small expansion. Well, he starts talking about parking problems that they had 20 years ago. It's like, those problems have been rectified. Why are you still droning on about a problem 20 years ago? We're in the 22nd century. Let's get on board with this.
Correct.
The business has been operating very well. I have not heard of any traffic issues involved or parking issues involved. It's like, give them the expansion that they're looking for.
And we just went through COVID where they gave everything they gave the store away to many different businesses, and rightfully so. Under a time when we needed
their expansion at that point, I think, was 2 or 3 times as large as they were asking at the Board of Selectmen meeting. To be honest, I would say we should be looking at those outdoor expansions on a permanent basis.
Exactly.
Let's have these businesses being able to have, dine al fresco, as you would say. And I mean, I don't know anybody who wasn't thrilled that they were eating outside. I mean,
exactly.
There's a party atmosphere that goes with that. It's so much more enjoyable.
You mentioned how, for 20 years these problems have been existing, and that Joe keeps bringing them up. I mean, it's the same way Joe brought up with the Dunkin' Donuts on Broadway Road, where
a very good point.
It was where he voted against it. That was one of my first votes, by the way, being opposed to Joe DeRocco when I was on the Board of Selectmen. The very first vote was whether or not we were going to give a permit to Dunkin' Donuts on Broadway Road down by the plaza there.
Yeah,
And-
across from Fox Ave.
Right. And the bottom line is there that Joe's excuse for not giving them the permit was a telephone pole. The telephone pole was blocking, or a tree was blocking the view coming out of the driveway. How ridiculous. If that isn't a lame excuse for not giving a business a permit that would be thriving in the town of Dracut and that's just one instance of it that he's done.
Yeah,
he
well,
does it all the time.
Just before this one and only one, they were trying to cite a cannabis retail dispensary on Merrimack Avenue. Now that's essentially the road that follows along the river, the Lower Lawrence Boulevard, if you want to call it that. So it's out by the Brock's Quarry, essentially in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And they wanted to put a cannabis retail dispensary there. He votes against it because initially he said, well, you know, we're meeting on Zoom, and he doesn't feel comfortable about meeting on Zoom. But meanwhile, he's still granting special permits for everything else via Zoom. So, you know, he voted against it. Jesse Forster, who I believe works for Brock's Industries, had recused himself. Mm-hmm. So essentially it died because Allison Hughes and Joe DeRocco didn't want to vote because of, well, Joe didn't want to vote because of Zoom. Allison didn't want to vote for it because she's morally opposed to it.
I think if you remember too, when they brought up Hannaford's in Dracut, they were trying to get their liquor license, and he was holding that up.
Right.
Month after month because, you know.
Exactly.
Because, they took it, you know, that we gave it back, they had to turn it back in, and then we didn't want to give it back.
Who cares? Because you didn't kiss your ring? Is that what it's all about? Didn't kiss your ring?
Exactly.
Give me a break. That's what Joe DeRocco, in the 16 some odd years that he's been on the board, he doesn't do anything that's positive for Dracut unless it is a friend of his, right? Now, we have a videotape.
So, I suppose to that one point, so Green Herbal off of School Street in the Beaverbrook Mills, in the Navy Yard section, they had a meeting for their cannabis retail, one meeting, 20 minutes, approved.
Wow. And the one on 110 went what?
Oh, a couple meetings. And
thousands of dollars.
So it was voted on twice. He voted against it both times.
Yeah, unbelievable. So we have a video that we're going to show at least 5 minutes of it, right?
We can go through about 5 minutes of it, knowing how much time we really have left.
We can always go back to it another time, but we have this video for a purpose. But go ahead.
So
why don't you set it up?
To set it up, this was a meeting that was being conducted on, as you can see, August 13th of 2019. Jim Duggan was still our town manager at that point, and so this is regarding a procurement issue that had been brought to Joe's attention, or at least he's bringing to the attention of the Board of Selectmen. Within this clip, you'll hear Joe say that he's known about the problem for over a year, and that he was approaching the town manager about it, but he never told the Board of Selectmen that there was an issue. And that is smack in the face of the fiduciary responsibilities that he owes the town of Dracut.
So let's play that. Let's play that 4 or 5 minutes.
To discuss procurement procedures.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the reason I brought this up is I was I was disappointed in the handling of it from the manager. I went to see him approximately a little over a year ago, and what started it is that some contractors got a hold of me and wanted to know why they weren't offered it, being contractors in town, the ones that could do it. So I'd gone to the manager. He told me at the time he'd look into it, he'd straighten it out. What's happened since then, contractors called me again. Now this is up to now, and in a bunch of different instances it's the same. They weren't notified to begin with. So I looked a little bit further, and it appeared to me like, you know, the law 30B wasn't adhered to. I went in and I got what I could of a particular company who's been getting most of the work. And I had Samantha get me all of the backups that she could, so 3 or 4, 5 days later, whatever it was, and she said, that's all we have. So in doing so, I found, and there's a number of cases where they weren't getting bids from 3 bids over 10,000. In one case, it was over 50,000, and it didn't go to the sealed bid process, which it's supposed to. So I know that the manager right now is taking steps to correct it. The part that bothered me the most was I went to him, and it didn't. And now it's getting resolved, and you know, this one particular case. I'm gonna get a little bit deeper into this, but there's like 6 or 7 different things. I mean,
If you don't mind, guys. Yeah. First of all, I want to say this. The man knew for a year. He went to the manager. He tried to bully the manager into doing
to get his
something.
buddies, because his buddies didn't get the job.
That's exactly what that whole thing says. I mean, how embarrassing is that? How embarrassing is that? That he waited a year. Here you are sitting on a board of 5 members, and this one member is going to speak up for local contractors because they didn't get the opportunity to bid on contracts. By the way, most of the stuff he talks about, and it gets back in later on in the tape, and we may not have time to play it tonight, but we will in the future. He talks about bids that were not reached the level of going out for open bids, right? So he wanted his friends to get the bids. And that's what the problem was, that his friends weren't getting the bids. As long as his friends are getting the bids, and he has some friends that have gotten bids in town that now probably are not too happy because they now have to go through the bid process, right? In a lot of ways.
That's exactly it. And certainly one of the strong issues there is that the town manager is his subordinate. So he's going to the town manager without telling the other principals of the company.
We should have an executive session and tell the rest of the board.
So he's not telling essentially the other board of directors or the board of selectmen that there's an issue here. This needs to be addressed. No, he's going to the employee and saying, you know, you take care of that. But you report back to me.
Right.
It's like, no, he's supposed to report back to all of you.
Can you fast forward that to where Tony Archinsky breaks in? I know that Tony Archinsky comes in and he's upset because, and so doesn't Tammy Dristolaris. They're upset because this is an item that's on the agenda, and Joe DeRocco's got all this information, and Jesse Forcier has all this information. Now, how did they get the information together? They must have talked about it prior to the meeting, right?
So
before they put
rightfully
it on the agenda.
so. So here's an item on the agenda, and there's no backup information to support any of the allegations or anything that Joe is bringing up. And Tony is saying, I have no information here. I have no idea what you're talking about.
And he wants some kind of decision to be made or whatever to be talked about. And the whole thing, have you found that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to the tape and see what happens here.
Connection within the DPW, and apparently that wasn't put out to the proper bid. What?
How do you know this? I mean, I have a thing on the agenda that says discuss procurement procedures, and you guys seem to know an awful lot more about what I can take in here.
He just explained to you that that people have come to him and asked him, so he's done the research. So you.
Well, you know, if there's
you don't have to take any
Stop
action
that
right
for a
now.
second.
We can discuss
Stop
this.
it. We're going to go back to that. So here you go. Here's Jesse Forcier, the lapdog for Joe DeRocco, sitting there talking about how, you know, well, you could have called him for the information. No. If an issue is on the agenda, you should have the backup information to go to all the members of the Board of Selectmen. Now, the board should be very upset that Joe DeRocco waited a year, and after he told the manager. I mean, what kind of backroom deal was going on here? What kind of backroom?
Well, because if the manager says, "Okay, Joe, I'm going to award all these contracts to your buddies," the problem would have gone away.
Absolutely, and that's what the assumption looks like. That's the appearance of this. I mean, this is a Board of Selectmen meeting.
And absolutely, the responsibility of the chairman is supposed to make sure that all that information is disseminated to all the members of the board, so they're all talking about the same
Yeah,
thing.
but here's Jesse saying, you should have went to Joe to get the, no, that's not what's supposed to happen.
Or I think as he insinuates, well, Joe did some research, you should have done some research.
Well, I can't know if I
How
don't
can
know
you
what the
research it if you've never been told
Yeah, exactly.
that there's a problem here?
Exactly. Start it up again.
Okay, that's fine, because I would like to have the opportunity to at least know what it is specifically that you're talking about.
That's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
It's public information. I mean, we could, I guess,
All right. The other unfortunate part is, I mean, we used to sign all of the warrants. We gave that right away. So we didn't go over them all the time, but we used to thumb through them. We may have picked up on this. We don't do that anymore. I mean, I know we can go in and see Diane Daigle and go through everything, but at least when they were at the meeting at one time, you used to be able to, you had to sign them. So by signing them, sometime if you were looking for something specific, you'd go find it.
You could stop it.
Okay, you can stop it right there. This is a classic way of using your position as a Board of Selectmen member for bad things. This is a classic way of him using to get retribution to people who aren't falling into line the way he wants them to fall into line.
And to his last point, why did the Board of Selectmen give away their responsibility of signing the warrant?
That's right.
That was in the last charter change. There was a number of little items that got changed, and that one got changed, and I don't know why. I sit on the Northern Middlesex Council of Governments, and I sign the warrant once a month when I go there.
There you go. And you get to look through it to see
You get
what's
to
going
look
on.
it through, and if you have a question,
Do you know who it is? Jim, we have a call.
we have a third call.
We have a third caller tonight. We're really pumping up the gas here. Okay, Jim, let's hear it.
Yeah,
You're on
hi
the air.
guys. Yeah, good show, guys. Good show. But I just want to say, what's wrong with giving Dracut people the work? Give the work to Dracut people. There's nothing wrong with that.
I didn't
So-
hear- I didn't
so-
hear that.
so Jim is asking,
give
how
the
come
work to Dracut
we don't
people.
give the
There's
work to
nothing wrong
Dracut?
with that.
So procurement laws that we have to follow from Massachusetts require that everybody has the same opportunity to bid. And so Dracut contractors or whoever else is bidding on services or whatever, they have an equal chance to bid. And it needs to go to the lowest qualified bidder. So, I mean, we have instances where we've done construction projects in town. Some have gone to Dracut contractors. Some of them have gone to contractors, honestly, that have been in Rhode Island. And how they can come up here, do the work, and do it for the price that's been given and still get it done.
But to Jim's point is well taken.
Oh, absolutely,
I want to
absolutely. Would
see
love to-
Dracut people get jobs in Dracut as much as possible. I also want the best price for Dracut. But this isn't something, Jim, that that was, he brought it to the board and brought it to light when he first heard about it. The point is that he let it fester for a year because he didn't get his way. That's our whole point.
But the thing is, the bottom line is this: Dracut people support Dracut businesses. They give money to scholarship foundations. They help out in anything that goes on in town.
Absolutely, Jim.
And we agree with you. We just want it to be fair. We want it to be fair for everybody, but not just to be fair for just... What's that?
You don't think other towns take care of their own?
I couldn't hear it.
Do you think the other towns take care of their own?
Of course they do.
Of course they do.
Well, there's
But that's
much
now
to be
why
said about it.
that's why we now have to pay someone $120,000 to review all the purchases now.
Exactly. Jim, you got anything else you'd like to say?
No, I'm just saying that Dracut should take care of their own, and there's nothing wrong with Joe did. Good night.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Jim. And you're right, Dracut is a great community.
We do agree that Dracut is a great community, and we want to keep it that way.
But I do have, just to close on this, I was the president of Dracut basketball, so I would have to go out and order T-shirts and trophies and things for the kids. And I remember back before Jim Duggan was the town manager, I always had to get 3 bids. Now, I might get one from the internet that was $100 cheaper for a set of T-shirts, but I'm going to go with the one in Dracut because it's just easier. I can drive down and pick it up. But then that all changed, and then I went to go get quotes, and they said, hey, you don't need quotes anymore. I'm like, oh, okay, great. And it made it easier for me because then I could just go down to Threads down right across the street and say, I need this many shirts.
Yeah. Well, I certainly support Dracut businesses, and I certainly support the town of Dracut supporting Dracut businesses, but we need to do it in a form and fashion that is level fielded for everybody, not somebody holding this information back for a year, making it so, you know, they're friends. Because like you said, Gordy, it would have went away if his friends got taken care of. And there's more to come about that, because if we really need to, we can expose who the friends are that he was speaking about, because he didn't do it. He wouldn't say who they are that came to him, but we know who they are. We know who they are, and we could expose that. But I'm going to throw this question out. I'd like to know what Joe has done for Dracut. Tell me what Joe has done for Dracut. Maybe I've forgotten, you know, maybe I didn't hear it, but, you know, call us up, email us, text us, do whatever. Let us know.
Was he involved in the skateboard park?
He was. He was the supporter of the skateboard park, but the skateboard park was proposed by his friend Leo Vizina. Leo Vizina obviously had an interest in it because, from what I understand, his grandchildren were skateboarders. So he went out and raised a lot of money, and of course Joe tagged along on his coattail, because Joe DeRocco has not had an original thought or an original proposal on his own ever that I can remember. So if I'm wrong, let us know. We'll be happy to tell. And come on the show and let us know, Joe. We'd be happy to let you know. We'll give you time to come on.
One thing I'll never forget is at a selectmen's meeting when Jim Duggan first got into office. You know, as every year they have to give them a review of the town manager, and they went through each selectman, and everyone took time and said, he does this well, he does, you know, he needs to improve here. And Joe just says, I gave him 2 down the board. Because he didn't want to spend the time to do a review, which is his job. But he wouldn't spend the time to do it. That's where I get mad, because you know, that's your job to do. If you want to get elected to become the Board of Selectmen member, then do your job. Actually put the work in. Don't just be a figurehead and sit there and complain and put up roadblocks.
But I don't want to end it here because we can continue it, but we only have a couple minutes left. But I did want to put out that we did get a comment on our Facebook page from John J.D. I think it's Degnan, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Dinan?
Dinan? Okay.
Yeah.
Dinan. I don't know who he is or whatever. He might be a coach on the team. But his comment was, folks, please give us some time to redevelop our football program. It is going to take a little time. You'll be proud. Absolutely, positively, I think you're right. And I think that comment by Moose, Don Morosky, who called in, was a good comment to try to spur some interest in it and maybe get some more support for the program. And I think that good things come out of good discussion. And yes, I think we will look forward to seeing some good progress in your program. But in 30 seconds, Phil, tell me your passion for running. Tell me why you want to be elected.
What are you going to do to change?
We absolutely need change. We can't run things the way that we have in the past. I mean, we can't keep the status quo. If you're not growing, you're rotting, and this town is starting to rot.
Thank you, Phil. Wow, that was a good ending. And Chris Hall, thank you very much again for your comments tonight. Thank you to everybody that commented online here today, and thank you for those callers that called in. And please do so some more. Call in. We like these calls. We like the interaction. If you don't agree with us, we're happy to push back. It's time to say goodbye.
Well, thanks, guys. We had a great debate. I think today it was nice to have some callers come in so we could actually see some different viewpoints. So, as always, when it's Wednesday and it's now 6:30, it's What's Happening Dracut. Good night, Dracut.
Good night. It's an hour and a half and we still